Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to grow Hopniss, also known as American groundnut, and the Latin name for this is Apios americana. So this is a tuberous perennial legume, so it fixes nitrogen, and it's a vine. It doesn't really have that much stability, but it's really good. I really like the tubers. You can eat them just like potatoes or anything like that. They're a little starchier than potatoes, similar to like a Jerusalem artichoke or a sunchoke, as I call them. But yeah, they grow in these little strings, and they're native to the US, so that's why I'm growing these. I actually collected these originally 2 years ago. Collected a few tubers in the wild, and now I have all these. I don't know how much this is. I haven't weighed it yet, but it's a lot. And this is 2 years of growth. And I'm sure there's a lot more buried in this huge bed that I grew them in. But this is a really good one to grow because, one, it's native. Two, it's a starchy root crop that is just really good, like potatoes, but easier to harvest than potatoes. And three, you can intercrop it with anything, and you basically just set it and forget it. It's pretty easy. It's actually pretty weedy where I am. It grows usually in floodplain forests, usually in the more open forests, like prairie kind of setting. But it likes full sun and it likes wet feet. So I live in Ohio, so it's very adapted to this climate. But it grows all over the eastern US. And there's another species that has one giant tuber instead of a lot of these, but that's much rarer. I think that only exists in Tennessee or Kentucky. But this one is very widespread. You can find it. It has 5 leaflets per leaf, and it has these beautiful red flowers. Mine actually flowered this year, which was really nice. But in the northern climates, you can't really expect to set seed for some reason. It mainly just spreads by these long tubers that extend several feet from the plant. So yeah, basically the first step to growing this is amending your soil. So these like really sandy soil, and as you see here, I have really clay soil. It's pretty bad for these guys, but I amended it a little bit. And a lot of people overstate how important this is. They will do better in sandy soil, and they will get bigger in sandy soil, but you will not really, I mean, look how clay mine is, and I got all this harvest. You don't really need to amend it a ton, but I would recommend amending it. So what I did, I just put a layer of compost down and a layer of sand, and I'm going to do that every year that I harvest them successively. So it gradually gets sandier and less clay, but they can grow in clay fine. The second step is to find your source material. So you can order these online. It's pretty expensive for the amount of tubers you get. My recommendation is going on iNaturalist if you live in the eastern US, and which probably a lot of my viewers do. So you go on iNaturalist, you search Apios americana or Hopniss, groundnut, whatever the hell you want to search, and then you find the nearest location. iNaturalist will have pinpointed observations on there, and you go there as long as it's not on private property, or as long as they won't catch you. And then you dig some. So this usually likes, like I said, sandy soils. I live near a river, and this really likes growing on the sand beaches of the river in full sun. So that's where I got mine. And it wasn't hard to dig up. They're super easy if they grow in sand. I'm sure most people here live by a river or a stream or somewhere where this grows, so you'll be able to find some. And then the next step is to plant it. So after you've amended your soil and you have your bed, you plant it. In, I would say, probably the best result, you would plant it in the fall. Spring is a little late to plant it. You can plant it in the winter as well. That's what I'm doing. I'm harvesting it and planting it a few days apart. Replanting it a few days apart. So you plant it in the fall or the winter, suggested. They'll do best there. And then you plan for intercropping. So this is a great one to intercrop, like I said. So probably the best crop that I would recommend to intercrop this with is corn. or any other kind of grain. The vines on this guy can get up to 6 feet tall, and they love to climb things. So in the wild, this climbs goldenrod mainly, and a lot of other stuff. Like, it'll climb small trees and stuff like that. But in the garden setting, I would recommend intercropping it with corn, because one, you can get a corn harvest, which is an annual, so you don't need to plow up the soil to grow corn, and it'll grow tall. You'll get a harvest from that, and then you'll also have these guys growing down, and they won't really hurt the corn. They'll just grow up it. The vines are really small, so they won't make it collapse or anything like that. So yeah, I would recommend growing this with corn. You could do like millet, any other kind of grain. Wheat is a little short, but that would work if you want to, but corn is my strongest suggestion. So the only thing about these guys is they need to grow 2 years for a good harvest like this. So these are 2 years old. I planted big tubers, but I didn't have that many. I had a few that were this size when I planted these. So what you do is you plant these, and then in the winter or the fall, and then in the spring you plant your corn on top after mulching. And then the corn, well, I would plant it, you might want to start from starts, because these come up pretty early in the spring actually. So they'll have something to climb immediately, but you can do it. I did it, and it worked just fine, just going direct seeding corn. And it'll start climbing the corn. It probably won't flower the first year. It probably will the second year. And then you harvest your corn the first year. You just leave the soil. Don't touch the soil. They're still growing and dividing in the wintertime. The roots are. And so the next year, you plant your corn again, or whatever you want to plant, and then you harvest in the fall. And then you can also, at the same time, or whenever you want, really, you can harvest these guys too that second year, and then you'll have a good harvest. I don't know how much this is, but it's a lot. It's a good amount. And then that I'm going to replant the largest tubers, or some of the medium-sized ones. I wouldn't replant stuff that's like this, like tiny. It won't have enough energy. It's not worth replanting. So something like this will have more than enough energy. You can snip them off using scissors, or you could plant the whole string like this. Just a few inches underground, cover it up, and in the springtime, they'll shoot up. So yeah, that's pretty much how you grow Hopniss. To eat these, I recommend frying them. You can eat them like a potato. I would recommend keeping the skin on, because the skin is a lot of it. You can also eat the in-between part if you were wondering that. So you can, I don't know, they kind of look like something bad, but yeah, they're pretty good crop to grow. So Hopniss, American groundnut. Grow native and have a good one.